Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Fluento, Everyday English for Real Life. I'm Anna.
And I'm David. Hi, everyone. It's wonderful to have you here. I'm really excited for today's episode because, well, we're talking about something that literally everyone loves: food.
Absolutely. And not just food, but also how we talk about it, how we order it, and how it connects to culture and daily life.
Yes, and Anna, food is one of those universal topics. No matter where you go, people eat 3 meals a day, maybe snacks, and we all have our favorites, and that makes it perfect for learning English.
Exactly. And the first meal of the day, breakfast, is so important. It sets the tone for your whole day. So, David, what's your typical breakfast?
Breakfast. I usually like something warm and comforting. Maybe toast with butter, scrambled eggs, and of course, coffee. Black coffee is my go-to. I've tried coffee with milk sometimes, but nothing wakes me up like black coffee.
I know that feeling. For me, I prefer something lighter but still energizing. I love fresh fruits, bananas, strawberries, sometimes mango, and I often mix them with a little yogurt. And yes, a big cup of black coffee too.
That sounds so refreshing. Anna, one of the interesting things about breakfast is how different it can be across cultures. For example, in England, people sometimes have a full English breakfast with eggs, bacon, sausages, beans, and toast. In Japan, people might have rice, miso soup, grilled fish, and pickled vegetables.
Yes, and these differences are a wonderful way to learn vocabulary. For example, beans. What kind of beans do we mean? In English, beans usually refers to small, white, or red beans, often cooked in a sauce, like baked beans. And pickled vegetables might be unfamiliar, but it means vegetables preserved in vinegar or brine, giving them a sour taste.
Right, and it's also a chance to practice adjectives. Words like crunchy, creamy, sweet, sour, juicy, fresh. When you describe food, try to notice the texture, taste, and smell. For example, Anna, your strawberries and bananas are sweet and fresh, and your yogurt makes them creamy.
Yes, and practicing those descriptive words helps your English feel more natural. You're not just naming things, you're expressing experience. That's how English sounds alive.
Speaking of describing food, here's a quick tip for pronunciation. The word yogurt sometimes confuses learners because the G is soft, yogurt, and banana is stressed on the second syllable, but na-na. Practicing these small details makes a big difference in sounding natural.
Absolutely. And you can also practice phrases like I usually eat or I love. For example, I usually eat toast with eggs in the morning, or I love fresh fruit for breakfast. These are simple, everyday sentences you can use right now.
That reminds me of a funny story. The first time I visited Brazil, I was invited for breakfast at a friend's house. I was expecting something like toast or cereal, but they served pão de queijo, cheese bread. I didn't know the word, so I just said, "Oh, this is delicious." But later, I learned how to order it in English. "I'd like some cheese bread, please." Small moments like that are so useful for learners.
Yes, that's such a real life situation, and it shows why learning vocabulary around meals is so practical.
Definitely. Okay, so let's practice another useful structure. If someone asks, "What do you usually eat for breakfast?" you can answer, "I usually eat." "I like." "Sometimes I have." For example, "I usually eat scrambled eggs and toast," or "I like fruit and yogurt in the morning."
And you can add a little extra detail to make your English sound richer. For example, I usually eat scrambled eggs with a little cheese and toast with butter. I love drinking coffee while reading the news.
Perfect. And let's talk a little about drinks. Coffee is a morning classic, but you might also hear people say tea, juice, milk, or smoothies. And here's another pronunciation tip. The word smoothie is smoothie. Stress the first syllable.
Smoothies are also a fun way to practice food vocabulary because you can describe all the ingredients. For example, I like a banana and strawberry smoothie with yogurt. And you can even add adjectives like creamy, sweet, and refreshing.
That's right, and using adjectives like that doesn't just improve your English, it also makes your sentences more vivid and interesting.
Now, breakfast is done. Let's transition to lunch. For many people, lunch is the biggest meal of the day. David, what's your lunch usually like?
Well, if I'm busy, I usually have a sandwich. But if I have more time, I like a nice warm soup or stew. Something comforting, like vegetable soup full of flavor.
I love that. Soup is perfect, especially on a cold day. For me, lunch is more substantial. I usually have rice and beans, grilled chicken or fish, and a small salad. Classic, simple, and very healthy.
Yes, and let's break down some vocabulary there. Words like grilled, steamed, boiled, fried, baked, roasted describe cooking methods. You can say, I like grilled chicken, or I prefer steamed vegetables.
And don't forget verbs for preparing food. Chop, mix, boil, fry, bake, roast. For example, I chop the vegetables for my salad, or I bake chicken in the oven.
That's right, and prepositions are also useful. With, on, in. For example, I eat rice with beans, or I like salad with tomatoes.
Speaking of which, describing your favorite dishes is also a fun way to practice storytelling in English. You could say, my favorite lunch is rice and beans with grilled chicken. I always add a little salad on the side. It's fresh and satisfying.
And that leads to cultural reflections, too. For example, in Brazil, rice and beans are a staple. In the US, sandwiches or salads might be more common. And in Japan, lunch might be a bento box with rice, fish, and vegetables. Talking about these differences helps you practice both English and cultural knowledge.
Exactly. And a fun exercise for listeners, try to describe your typical lunch in English. Don't worry about mistakes. Start with, for lunch, I usually eat, and add a few details.
Yes, and try to include adjectives like fresh, tasty, spicy, creamy, crunchy, or cooking verbs like baked, grilled, boiled. For example, I usually eat a grilled chicken sandwich with fresh lettuce and tomatoes. It's crunchy and tasty.
Perfect. And we can also talk about lunch beverages: water, juice, soda, tea, and sometimes coffee. You can practice ordering them. Can I have a glass of water, please? Or I'd like orange juice with my lunch, please.
That's an important skill too, and it reminds me of how useful it is to learn phrases for ordering food, because one day you might be traveling and need to communicate confidently.
Exactly. And we'll cover that in more detail later, but before we move on to dinner, let's explore a fun mini topic: fruits and vegetables.
Ah, yes, fruits and vegetables. Very healthy, very colorful. Anna, what are your favorite fruits?
I love strawberries, bananas, mango, and oranges are great for juice or eating. I try to eat fruits every day.
I love apples, especially the crunchy kind, and grapes too. Green grapes are like little sweet candies. And when you talk about fruits, adjectives help. Sweet, juicy, sour, refreshing.
Exactly. And vegetables are just as important. I love carrots, especially cooked in soups, and spinach in salads. Broccoli, onions, peppers, so many options. You can practice phrases like, I always try to eat vegetables with my lunch, or I love roasted carrots, they're sweet and soft.
And you could even practice comparing vegetables. For example, carrots are sweeter than broccoli, or spinach is healthier than fried potatoes. Comparisons are a useful grammar point for learners. All right, Anna, we've had breakfast, lunch, fruits and vegetables, but now comes dinner. Often dinner is a little lighter than lunch, right? Or sometimes it's a treat depending on the day. What's your typical dinner?
Yes, sometimes lighter, but my favorite dinners are definitely special meals. I love pizza. Hot from the oven, lots of cheese, maybe pepperoni, or even a vegetarian pizza with peppers, onions, and mushrooms. Pizza is my ultimate comfort food.
Ah, pizza is amazing. I love it too. But I also enjoy pasta for dinner. Spaghetti or penne with tomato sauce and fresh basil. Sometimes I add a little cheese on top. And honestly, after a long day, cooking can feel exhausting. So ordering pizza or other takeout is perfect.
That's a great point. And here's a tip for learners. When describing dinner, you can use adjectives for taste and temperature. Hot, warm, cold, creamy, cheesy, savory, spicy. For example, I love a hot, cheesy pizza with lots of vegetables. Or I enjoy warm spaghetti with tomato sauce.
And we can also talk about expressions. For example, when food is really comforting, people often say, "This food hits the spot," or "This is comfort food for me." You can use that in English to make your sentences sound more natural.
Yes, and that reminds me, when we eat something delicious, it's common to express it like this: Yum, this is so good. Or, I can't get enough of this pizza. Using expressions like that makes English sound more alive.
Absolutely. And desserts are another fun topic. Anna, what's your favorite sweet treat?
Oh, I definitely have a sweet tooth. Ice cream is my favorite, especially chocolate or strawberry. Cold and creamy, perfect any time of the year.
Yes, ice cream is unbeatable. For me, chocolate in any form works. Chocolate bars, chocolate cookies, sometimes even a small piece of cake. And describing desserts is a great way to use adjectives like sweet, creamy, rich, cold, soft.
Exactly. And here's a mini tip for pronunciation. Chocolate is pronounced chocolate or chocolate, depending on the accent. And ice cream is ice cream. These are words you'll use all the time, so it's worth practicing.
And when talking about drinks, there's a lot of vocabulary too. Coffee, tea, water, juice, soda, milk, lemonade, and you can add descriptive words like hot, cold, sweet, refreshing. For example, "I'd like a cold lemonade, please," or "I prefer hot green tea in the evening."
And speaking of drinks, cultural notes are interesting here. In the US, iced tea is very popular, especially in the South. In England, tea time is a tradition with small snacks like scones. And in Brazil, fresh juice from fruits like mango, orange, or passion fruit is common. Learning these cultural habits helps you understand real English conversations.
Definitely. Now, Anna, let's move to something very practical. Ordering food. This is where English learners can feel nervous, but we'll make it simple. Let's imagine we're in a restaurant. What do we say first?
Okay, first, if there's a host at the door, you can politely say, "A table for two, please." If it's for four, just change the number. Then you wait to be seated. Simple and clear.
And once you're seated, the waiter comes by. You need to see the menu, so you can say, "Can I see the menu, please?" Then you take your time to choose. And when the waiter returns, they might ask, "Are you ready to order?"
That's your cue. You can answer, "Yes, I'd like the chicken with rice, please." Or, "I'll have the pasta with vegetables." And for drinks, you can say, "And a glass of water, please." Or, "I'd like a soda, please."
And sometimes you might not know a dish on the menu. That's okay. You can politely ask, "What is this?" Or, "Does this dish have cheese?" Or even, "Is it spicy?" It's perfectly normal to ask questions.
Exactly. And here's a cultural note. In English-speaking countries, it's polite to always say please and thank you. These small words make a big difference.
That's a great tip. Now, fast food places are slightly different. You go straight to the counter and order quickly. For example, "I'd like a hamburger and fries, please," or "one cola, please."
And they often ask for here or to go, meaning do you want to eat at the restaurant or take it with you? You can say to go, please, if you're in a hurry.
And cafes are similar. You go to the counter, and you might order coffee or tea. You can say, "A small coffee, please," or "I'd like a latte." And they might ask, "With milk or sugar?" You can simply reply, "Yes, please," or "No, thank you."
And some cafes have pastries like muffins, cookies, or cakes. You can say, "And one chocolate chip muffin, please, with my coffee."
Now, what about ordering food at home? Maybe you're watching a movie and don't want to cook. This is super convenient nowadays.
Right. First, you call the restaurant or pizzeria. You can say, "Hello, I'd like to order a pizza." Then clearly state what you want. One large pizza with cheese and pepperoni.
And then, very importantly, you give your address. For example, my address is Main Street, number 5. My name is David. And sometimes they ask for your phone number.
The next step is payment. You can ask, "Can I pay with card or cash?" And finally, you might ask, "How long will it take for the food to arrive?" They might say, "About 30 minutes." Then you can say, "Okay, thank you." And then you wait for your delicious meal.
And here's a fun tip. While you wait, you can practice English by describing what you're about to eat. For example, "I'm going to have a large pizza with cheese and pepperoni. It's going to be hot, cheesy, and delicious."
That's a brilliant way to practice speaking naturally even when you're alone, and it also builds confidence.
Yes, and while we're on that, let's add a few idioms and expressions related to food. For example, spill the beans, to reveal a secret; bring home the bacon, to earn money for the family; or piece of cake, something easy.
And you can even make mini stories with these expressions. For example, ordering a pizza was a piece of cake, or "I spilled the beans about the surprise dinner."
Exactly. And that's how you combine vocabulary, culture, and expressions in real-life English.
So, to recap this section, we've covered dinner, desserts, drinks, ordering at restaurants, cafes, fast food, and by delivery. We've added adjectives, idioms, cultural insights, and practical phrases. That's a lot of useful English for real life.
Absolutely. And the key takeaway for our listeners, practice speaking about what you love. Talk about your favorite meals, order food in English, describe your favorite dishes, and even share a story.
And remember, English is not just about grammar and vocabulary. It's about expressing yourself, connecting with others, and enjoying the process. Food is just one delicious way to do that.
And here's a small challenge for our listeners. Try writing or saying a short paragraph in English about your favorite food. Include at least 3 adjectives, a cooking verb, and a drink. For example, "I love a hot, cheesy pizza with mushrooms. I usually drink cold lemonade with it."
Perfect. And even if you make mistakes, it's okay. Every time you try, you improve. And don't forget to share your story with a friend or in a comment somewhere. Practice is progress.
That's right. And we hope this episode inspires you to enjoy your meals and practice English every day. Even talking about food can help you become more confident in English.
Thank you so much for joining us today. We hope you had fun exploring meals, vocabulary, cultural stories, and practical phrases. Keep practicing, enjoy your food, and share your English story with someone.
See you next time on Fluento, everyday English for real life. And have a delicious day.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.